Hey there, Dad. Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies. Today is about marketing using the big circle or marketing using the little circles. So if you've been following me for a while, you might know I think a lot and talk a lot about niching. Specifically within that, when I talk about trying to figure out who you're trying to reach, I make a general distinction between what I call the big circle and the little circles. The big circle would be what a lot of people call your ideal clients, your customer avatars. Generally, who do you want to work with? You know, it's the fact that maybe they like Thai food and sushi and like to go to the opera. These are your people. So that's the big circle. Now the little circles, those are the very specific, discrete target markets, always based, if you're a service provider, on a very particular problem. And if you make products, then it's a very specific kind of product you make. So so that's the general thing. One second, let me clean this lens. Yeah, it's a little better. So based on the target market itself, based on the problem. So that would be, for example, helping people with migraines, helping people figure out their niche, helping life coaches get more comfortable with sales conversations, very specific issues. And of course they overlap and merge. The way I talk about it is, you know, you've got your one big circle, sort of generally who do you like to work with, but within that you've got a kind of Venn diagram of little circles or a few different options. And people often say, well, do I do the what do I use to market? And generally the target market, but let me show you how you can use both, because it's a slightly different approach. Now, you could say, okay, so let's say I say, well, I really like the Weston A. Price Foundation's approach to food and diet, and boy, I'd really love to have more of my coaching clients come from that scene. So what would I do? I find all the Weston A. Price Foundation chapters around North America and say, hey, do you have any clients that are, you know, in this holistic world, and maybe would you be interested in hosting a marketing workshop and you can keep all the money, it'd be a fundraiser for you, something like that. And they say, oh, that'd be great. And they bring me in and, you know, etc. Or they have a conference, let's say, and there's 1,000 people at the conference and I'm one of the speakers. So I just know that some of the people who are there would be interested in what I had to say. And let's say it was just an evening talk and a panel and I'm one of the people. Well, maybe 10-20% of the people in the audience will be entrepreneurs, but that's fine. Then I just say, here's my pitch about my take on marketing. If you're interested, come talk to me after. And then I'm, you know, swamped hopefully by those people, but not the other people. So I could start with generally who do I want to work with, and go to a crowd of them and say, hey, how many of you are in my little circles? How many of you are struggling with the very specific problems I help people with? The other way I could do it is I could say, well, you know, let's say I were to focus on permaculture people who are struggling, they want more clients, struggling with their marketing. So I could say, well, where do all the struggling permaculture people who are struggling in business with permaculture hang out? Yeah, and then I go to a graphic designer who does web design just for permaculture people, and they say, oh, I've got a lot of people struggling with that problem. And then when I'm speaking to them, I say, look, my real particular people are people who are into the Weston A. Price Foundation diet, which I suppose a lot of them would be, but you know, there'll be some vegans, there'll be some all sorts of variety in the permaculture world. So you see what I'm saying? I can either start by going to the big circle or the little circles. This came up in a coaching session where a fellow, he's in the Netherlands doing career coaching. And one of the particular little circles he has is, well, I mean, the issue is people who are struggling with their career. They don't know, should I go, should I stay? They're not sure. And But kind of, well, that anyways, there's that issue, but there's also working with expats, people who are from other countries who are now living in the Netherlands, but maybe they moved to the Netherlands for their job, but their boss is the psychopath. So now they're in a very hard position. Do I leave the job, which means I have to leave the country? But oh no, I love the Netherlands. I don't want to leave Amsterdam. I've fallen in love with somebody. I love the city. I just hate the job. So they're in a real catch-22 there. And so I said, well, you know, you have a couple options. One is you could find a career counselor or some meetup for people who are, I don't know, looking to change their career, and say, look, my specialty is expats. So if you're from outside of the European Union and you're here and you don't want to leave even though your boss is terrible and the job isn't working out, talk to me. Or he could go to a group of expats and just trust, you know, maybe they have a gathering, and while he's there, whether it's a conference or event, meetup group, networking event, he could go find a bunch of expats and say, hey, if any of you hate your job and you want out, you know, but you don't want to leave the country, you better believe there'd be a handful of them, or they would know somebody. They say, whoa, I completely want that. That's great. So hopefully that makes sense. You could start with the big circle or the little circle. You could start by finding, like, where do your kind of people generally hang out, the kind of the crew that you'd like to roll with, and see if any of them have the trouble. Or you can start with the trouble, people who are struggling with that, and then see if there's any of those people who are the kind of people you'd like to roll with. So hopefully that helps. Sometimes people get really stuck on this, and it's not so hard to solve. So there you go. Hopefully that's useful. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks to everyone sharing the videos. You can subscribe hitting the red button and then the bell icon. marketingforhippies.com is my website. I'm on Facebook as well, and hopefully we'll see you around soon.